Hello, hello from me and Abby. Hey, Darkstorm. So, yeah, this morning we figured out a lot of different story points that needed to work out. And now we're going to look through more of these questions and, yeah, just answer more of the stuff. We probably already answered several of these, which is a good sign because it means that we were working on the right stuff. So, let's see. Do we have a meta inventory? Do we allow backtracking? Doing specific actions affect another thing. I don't think there's a need for this now. If we had backtracking in a proper sense, we might need it, but I don't think it's really going to do much for us. Wasn't even sitting here ready. Yeah, now Darkstorm got first. To the victor go the spoils, which is nothing. Just bragging rights. I want to write this down somewhere. I'm not really sure where. Rules of the world. Maybe I just write game mechanics or something. I don't know. You like the video? Yeah. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm glad people are enjoying the jokes in it. So meta inventory and backtracking. Writing to say that there's no plan at the moment for these to be in the game. Or at least not in a way that these traditionally manifest. Rationale, a lot of games with backtracking can cause players to conclude that they can't do something when they actually can, because they know they haven't unlocked everything in the game yet. Games with backtracking also tend to have a try every key on every keyhole type of problem. You encounter an orb in Zelda and try bombs, your boomerang, etc. It has reactions? Yeah, it has reactions. They added those a while ago, a few years, I think. That's their April Fool's joke game. I haven't really done a lot on April Fool's Day so far. I've streamed, and the streaming interface looks exactly the same, or at least chat does. I don't have 7TV. And yeah. Let me try this. So yeah, and Google Docs seemingly didn't do anything. OBS, of course, didn't do anything. I mean, not for their program. So yeah, I haven't seen a lot of these. I used to like what companies would put out every year. Like Blizzard probably did something. In fact, I kind of like what they've been doing recently. I wonder if they've done this year. Hearthstone patch notes. They used to make funny patch notes. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I should read through these later. I like that people put in some effort for this stuff. Look at the Hearthstone April Fool's patch notes. I wonder if the finals did something. Probably not. I don't think they've done this in past years. No, they haven't. I wonder if they did something in game, though. I'll probably play tonight. Yeah, maybe I have 7TV and I just don't have it enabled or something. Like you said, Dark. Hey, Captain Maths. Okay, yeah, so rationale, and also we could add it back. We could add it in ways that make sense. For the meta inventory, yeah, I think that's fine. All right, so note a meta inventory is an inventory of items or a set of abilities that carry over between games. If we have this, then we necessarily have to have backtracking. Well, we don't have to, I guess. You could always use them going forward in games, but then it doesn't really make sense, I guess. Did I write this somewhere? It's in the scratch note if I did. Practically a must, or else things wouldn't be different in between the games. Yeah. practically have to have backtracking. All right, that's fine though. I think this question's been answered. And I can put a copy link to Kevin's comment. Cool. Okay, done with this. He doesn't. He just sends you a new game, but you're special in some way and go to the random ones. Yeah, so we answered all of this stuff already. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. How can your storyline work without undermining the architects? The architect is okay with imperfections, then you're fixing their games. You're not fixing their games anymore. And that's what we've done. May have already answered this, but what form do you take in the real world? I think we should. Yeah, I did already answer this. What would the demo look like for this game? I don't think we should answer this now. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but yeah. Maybe marketing demo. What's the New Game Plus plan? Like you retain your inventory? No, the New Game Plus is entirely a joke. So, by the way, I think I gave you access to this document. I'm not saying you need to go look through it all, but here is... Where'd it go? Yeah, here it is. After you beat the game, you start a New Game Plus, etc. For each of these, it's literally the same experience, but this time the platformer has funny solutions to get over the chasm. And when you get past it, you end the game. Maybe we even say perfect ending. Actually, maybe we joke that you like remain an NPC, but then hint that you've become an NPC. Hey, Leap Year Girl. Thoughts on moon missions? I haven't done any research on them to find out what the... I didn't even know they were going on until like 2 hours ago. But I don't know what the purpose is and everything, so I don't really have any thoughts. I do want to look into them and find out a little bit more. In fact, I should write that down here too. Find out more about the moon missions. Once you get some theoretical best score, you get nothing special. You know, this is a problem that I think a lot of games have to struggle with, which is any game that has progress eventually has to stop the progress. So like Super Mario 64 had 120 stars you could collect. And then once you got them all, it's like, well, shouldn't there be some crazy reward? Well, what could that reward be that's still going to be interesting? So they put Yoshi in the game and they gave you some like sparkly jump. But that's it. I mean, and yeah, like every RPG eventually has to have a toughest boss in the game. They can't just keep making new content infinitely. At some point you'll have beaten them all. Sure, they could try to scale them infinitely, but it's not going to be unique content. So yeah, same thing here. It's like at some point you just can't give a reward for things. Not a fun feeling like an NPC. Can you describe what you mean by that? Because, I mean, technically NPC just stands for non-player character. So really, anyone in life who isn't you is an NPC from your perspective. And there's this concept of solipsism where you're actually the only like real person in the world. Yeah, the viewer theory that the self is all that can be known to exist. Like, you know your own self, your own brain, but you can't know that anyone else is real or an actual person. I'm glad you liked it, Captain Math. Yeah. Okay, so where do we leave off with this then? I think we answered a couple of those questions, right? What is gameplay actually like? How long will each tutorial be? I think we're starting to answer these. How do we work around people skipping all the text? Yeah, that's where I was talking about the LLM AI thing. Rationale. I think people will skip all of the text and miss a lot of the meaning of the game. Some people have short attention spans or dyslexia, and may miss out. Yeah. May miss out if there's only text. I don't want voice acting in the game, even if I weren't using AI. I think it clashes with the style of the game and like drastically complicates localization. With Skeleseller, I already didn't want to change strings when they'd been translated already, and it was just in text form. You can only imagine how annoying it would be to fix a plot hole and then reach out to like 14 voice actors to update some lines. Do you hear the cat like grunting over here? Like before she starts purring, it's like revving up an engine. It's a 10-day crewed loop of the moon. Oh, 10 days. Okay, interesting. Step 2 out of 5 in the New Moon project. First crewed stage. Step 4 is a New Moon landing. Huh, interesting. I didn't know about that stuff. Yeah, I still need to find out like what's the reason behind a lot of this. I mean, I'll look into it at some point. NBC only has one thing to say or do as far as I know, and that otherwise they serve no function other than that. Oh, I see. I see. I get you. Yeah. I mean, I guess in a sense, like it all depends on how you look at things. Like this is definitely a perception thing or a viewpoint thing. Sorry, perspective I meant. You might interact with other people in a way that you really only have one line even when things are going well. Like you hold the door open for someone and they say thank you. It's like, well, that was the one line they needed to say. They're not gonna be like, so who are you? What's your name? So I think it all depends on how you feel as a result of all of that. But I know what you mean. A lot of times it's like it's a manifestation of some other maybe issue or root cause. Building based on the moon so game devs can make a proper moon-based alpha game. You can finally make faster than light. What browser is this? This is Chrome. I use a dark theme for Chrome. Okay, so what next? Questions. What's gameplay actually like? How do we work around people skipping this? Okay, cool. How do we make fun achievements that don't bother people? Yeah, I don't know how to answer this right now. But this is one of the only places where I could see backtracking potentially helping. I do plan on making save slots for this game, because I think games should probably just have it by default. I feel like the list of sort of default expectations from gamers is growing. So save slots, if your game has save progress, people just probably want save slots. Like achievements, people want achievements. People probably want localization. They probably want like a UI scaling sort of thing. They want volume controls. They want, I don't know. I don't think these are unreasonable either. It's just, you could have made a game a while ago and probably not done any of these things. And it would have just been fine. Well, the localization part, maybe. That wouldn't have been fine. But like, how many games had individual game slider or volume sliders? Like Mario 64 didn't have that sort of thing. I doubt Ocarina of Time had that. In the GameCube era, were there those sorts of things? Like you just change your TV volume and everything was already mixed ahead of time. Yeah. Okay, so wait, there was a reason why I bumped myself down to that. Why? Oh yeah, achievements. So, oh right, save slots. That's why I am writing stuff down. I should make save slots from the beginning. It will also impact people who want to get achievements. So yeah, I think after we're done with the prototype, and I'll write note, maybe we still can't answer some of these now. So tackle them in a year or something. Achievements. Oh, where'd it go? Now put this here. And we may not want to allow backtracking just for achievements. Hey, bats. And hey, goose. Is I'm a skeleton potentially selling things? I think that's pretty reasonable to have. I think it could be with you spontaneously becoming a game developer. We kind of talked about this. And this part is kind of interesting. I had not talked about this. Maybe there's some connective story about how all the game devs in this world started as players who were curious about the world around them. And the architect eventually lost their passion. Why don't you know that you're an architect? If your mission is to improve these, then wouldn't you try changing them at some point? No, it's not even what happens anymore. Does everything make sense from a story perspective? As a contrived example, if the player has super strength and encounters a literal barrier, they would know that they could break through it. So if I wrote the character such that they forget they have super strength, then that's a problem. Yeah, there's probably a better way to state this. And I use this in the context of superhero movies. And a friend of mine takes particular exception to this, which is that sometimes the writers of a show just need a plot point to happen. But you have some superhero who's pretty much a god on the planet. You know, you take like Superman, he's got one weakness. So the average person doesn't have that weakness. So there should be no barriers in the form of like regular people threatening Superman. So then let's say you need that to happen. You need to like contrive a scenario. Oh, this person found kryptonite somewhere or something. I don't know. I haven't read Superman comics. I'm not that much of a fan. But this is something that as a story writer, I think you need to be mindful of. Because otherwise you run in these a wizard did it kind of scenarios where it's like, well, it was just magic and something had happened. So I think we need to look over this at some point, probably after prototyping a bit. Everything makes sense from a story perspective. Are motivations and abilities aligned with what happens? E.g., if the architect can make game worlds, why aren't they making like 100 more? Note, I already answered that it takes a while, but that's just an example. Okay. Consistent, I guess. Does everything make sense from a story perspective? Are they aligned with what happens and consistent in their usage? All right, I need to test the story. Will it grip people? How would I feel emailing someone a link to the demo? What would my marketing blurb be? Surreal comedy adventure. How can I punch up the writing to make it? Yeah, this is something we can do later. Let's take a look at that. Story impact. This is kind of jokes too. So yeah, testing the story. This one's going to be a little bit tough because the prototype might only have 10 minutes of gameplay or something. What is the prototype even trying to do? I should probably figure that out. I think I have that for Friday. Figure out what we should prototype and what we define success to be. Yeah, this is really important. Like, if it's the first 10 minutes of the game, how do we know that it worked? That it's worth pursuing? Could it also be that to you and us it's logical, but not to some of the people out there? The what's logical? Like the superhero stuff? Because I think, well, I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I think that there are stories out there that just have plot holes. And it's just something the author never thought of. And it's maybe very obvious in hindsight, and they retroactively come up with an explanation. And like, okay, that happens. We're all humans. If it takes someone out of the story, I think that can be a problem. Do you have stats on how many people replied to your emails? Was the result satisfying enough to do it again? I kept track, except for at the very end. So I had a huge spreadsheet with like the person's name, their email address, the date I contacted them on, and then whether they followed up. There were a bunch of other columns. There were things like, did they make a video? Did they not? And yeah, for the first, I don't know, probably 100 people or something like that, I think I kept track. And then toward launch, I kind of stopped keeping track. It was pretty successful in terms of response rate, but I think response rate is the wrong metric. I think the real metric is how many people made, or how many like views came about as a result of those videos. And this you can measure. The part you can't measure is how many people, how many influencers saw those videos or talked to someone who did, who were then inspired to play the game. So this is the true thing. And you can't know this unless I tell you. Because yeah, there were some people that they were like, oh, I'm streaming this game because one of my viewers told me about it. Well, how'd that viewer find out? The viewer probably found out because I emailed some like small influencer that they happen to watch, right? But I can't know that that small influencer led to the bigger influencer doing it. The story and the logic inside it, at least I thought that's what you were talking about. Could it be that to you and us it's logical, but not to some of the people out there? Yeah, I think logical can be in the eye of the beholder a little bit. And also, like, real life is just strange sometimes. Like, if you thought of your life as a movie, how many times have you just forgotten something and then that led to some event? Probably tons. Like, we all forget stuff. And probably it's like, oh my God, someone's birthday, I forgot. And then they like call you out or something or whatever. Something like that happens. In a book or in a movie, someone forgetting is not a very like interesting plot device. And yet it happens so often in real life. So yeah, that's why I kind of say like logical from the perspective of the beholder. And I think it just needs to be interesting to enough people. That's the end result. We'll be contacting the same people. I wonder if this time it'll be more successful. I'll probably contact some of them. So as an example, Idle Cub covered Skeleseller twice, and that led to tons and tons of sales. Like the 9 months ago video was 120,000 views. The more recent one was 133,000 views. But Idle Cub's name is literally Idle Cub. The idle part is not going to be relevant for my next game. So I could reach out and say, hey, look, I made another game. I'd even pay you to play it or something. But would his audience like it? Would he like it? Would it be good enough fit for the channel? So I don't know. I don't know how that would go. And there were a bunch of people I kind of reached out to when I realized, oh, we're putting this roguelike mode into Skeleseller, and realized like true roguelike fans wouldn't want to play through 4 hours of game to get to that mode. So I kind of had to eschew a lot of those. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, so yeah, how do I need to test the story? Will it grip people? How do I feel emailing someone a link to the demo? You know, I think you can kind of test stories by just telling someone the story. So I should just test this with real life friends, maybe? I can test with IRL friends. Just say, hey, give me some feedback and tell them bits of the story. I can just read it from the document. If they seem intrigued or they want to know more, then it's good. Yeah. Could have been people from this stream. Yeah, it could have been anyone. And also the other thing that works with big influencers a lot of times is it's not just like one person recommends a game. It's typically that there's sort of a feeling that, oh, several people have mentioned that now. And when the sixth person does, they're like, yeah, I should play that. And maybe they even attribute it to the sixth person, but it was really like, well, the 5 people who came before them were needed. So my only point with that was it's sometimes hard to track, but it doesn't mean that reaching out to smaller influencers was a bad idea. And there's still some people covering it. In fact, I was in someone's stream this morning. I haven't looked at what has been released like today. Yeah, no big videos. I don't really expect there to be a lot more. But I'll run sales, and eventually I think that'll also reach out to, like, not the sales will, but the sales will catch the attention of influencers. All right, how many other characters are there? There needs to be more recurring characters than just you and the architect. That way the game feels more connected. Other characters need to have story arcs or manifest in certain ways. Companion to the protagonist can always have triangular eyes. Yeah, so maybe we write this as an implementation note. Maybe I should make an art section. I probably should. These aren't really unfiled anymore, though. We can just file them. Art. Okay, so at some point, I need to make an art requests document like I had for Skeleseller. Maybe it should just be the same document that I rename. But that's the least important thing for right now. I think one of the most important things is we need to figure out the marketing images for a lot of this stuff. So like capsule art on Steam, logo, etc. But the first thing we need to do before that is we should figure out the characters. fonts, not sure what I want to do there, but I think people will probably expect pixel fonts. Maybe we should allow changing between pixel or true type. I always disliked how some pixel fonts are hard to read at certain sizes. It just complicates so much to have two fonts, though, for every single thing you could do in the game. But so many people commented on the font usage in Skeleseller, and I just didn't expect that. And a lot of people just commented that it's not a pixel art font. Can't really tell the stream's influence since the content happened to somewhat align in time. I wonder what's better in general. Speaking of fonts, what's the license for this? Open font license. Okay, yeah. Does this have all sorts of different languages? Glyphs and languages. Only a subset of all the glyphs are shown here. Download the font to view the full set. It's got some, but like this is one of the other things I got to think about too is what do we do for Japanese and what do we do for Chinese, and like those aren't in here. Oh wait. No, they don't support Japanese, Chinese, Korean. Yeah. English only is perfect, especially caps only. Yeah. So this is one of the things I gotta look into. So we should figure out the game characters and what will make them distinct. So player, especially player and sidekick, who will have multiple sprites depending on the game. There, hang on one second. My phone is vibrating. Okay. Just want to make sure there's no emergency. I'll definitely respond later. We should figure out the game characters and what will make them distinct, especially player and sidekick will have multiple sprites depending on the game they're in. For example, perhaps player has a red hat regardless of the game. And when they're a fighter jet, it turns into red paint on the hull of the ship. So player, sidekick, the architect, no need for multiple sprites, or no need for sprites for multiple games. And one of the things I got to lock down before we even get to this point is what are the... So I feel like I don't want like gender to become an issue in the games that I make. And we have pretty much three characters that I'm talking about here. We have player, we have sidekick, and we have the architect. And there are NPCs and everything, and there are probably some other like kind of throwaway characters. Those don't matter. Hang on one sec. I spooked the cat. I'm sorry, Abby. Yeah, so what I was thinking of, and this is not to make some statement or anything, but I was thinking that the player's gender could change based on the sprites we have for the game. But I think people will take this as a statement, and I just, the fewer statements I can make while making this game, because I just want people to have fun. And I feel like you do certain things that then cause everyone to just be up in arms. Not everyone, but some people to be up in arms, and they are like a very vocal minority. So I don't know what I want to do here. And the other problem that we have, if we ever have like a changing gender in the game, is I have no idea how this impacts localization. I think some languages will make this much harder. And that also made me think, what if there was just a like genderless character? And again, like languages sort of force you to have a gender. I was asking in some mystery books, at least like I'm pretty sure I've read at least one of these in English, where they mask the identity of a character. And the way that they do this is using the word they in English, because there's this does not connote a gender. And I was asking, how do you do this in like French, or how do you do this in German? And when I asked how do you do this in German, I think people were saying like, oh, you just don't mask the identity of the character. But maybe they do it a little differently. Maybe they'll say like, oh yeah, he entered the room, and they're literally just using the wrong gender to try to be sneaky about it as an author. 2 sets of sprites, one of each gender, and they choose who the character is, with the other being the sidekick. Yeah, but like I said, this impacts localization. So now we have to think of, and I don't know which languages this will impact, but like male talking to female, female talking to male. Well, I guess if you're only picking between these two, then maybe it's just that. But even that doubles the amount of work you have to do for some of this stuff. So yeah, I am not totally sure, and I think that as a result, it's like just lock them into something. You say something like this person. I guess person would probably use masculine conjugations after that though, right? So if the person is a woman, it's technically like it's only ambiguous in intent, not in like syntax. Referring by name. Yeah, but what I'm saying is like there are certain masculine, well, maybe this isn't true. I don't know. No, it is like pronouns or something. I don't know. All right, yeah. It's hard for me to say because I don't have a good example of a language where this is a problem. And yeah, I'm not sure. Also, welcome in, Bob Bob. Well, there won't be an official neutral word. Non-binary people tend to create neutral words in their language, and you can use two. Yeah, but this is where I was saying, like, we're getting into statement territory. Like, there were people who were upset on my Steam page about AI usage. And I just, like I said, I just want to make a fun game. I think the easiest thing to do is just pick some genders for the characters. And this is where Scala was nice, because that's exactly what we did. And no one complained about that. So yeah, so I will write this on my to-do list. Pick genders and identities for the main characters. The side characters can be anything and will likely be a mix, like in Skeleseller. The other nice thing about Skeleseller is that all the skeleton sprites were the same. There are technically human differences in skeletons between men and women, but you can't tell in pixel art. So that worked out quite nicely. But yeah, that's going to inform art. And then once enough is figured out from the prototype, or like, I guess it should be come up with a plan. Well, it's kind of over here, my roadmap, right? Design, prototype, validation, development and music production, kickoff art as well. Okay. Any site. All right, so what other questions? Or did I finish the art section? Yeah, all right, I think that's fine. What is players' motivation? You know what's kind of interesting here? There's a blurred line between... Are we eating some chiptunes? Yeah, probably. There's a blurred line between the game player and the IRL player. And both motivations are the same at first, which is like explore, have fun. Then at some point, the game character's motivation changes a little bit. They're having fun. They meet Sidekick. They need to become friends with Sidekick. And then they want to learn more about the world and everything. So I feel like this is probably captured enough. We don't need some other overlaid story on top of this. What are games that I like that are even semi-similarly in the same vein? Undertale, Super Mario RPG. Yeah, I don't think this is necessary. Is the Architect evil? No, definitely not. Yeah, maybe they talk about how they can't modify games. It would be the ultimate power. This hints at how it's a power you will get. Will be one style or several styles? It'll definitely be several styles, yeah. And I started planning out what some of these will be. I've got a whole sub games note here where it's like we talked about, well, this one we don't have it. Like this, we have a link to an asset pack. So we'll probably use like this for this particular game. And where's an example? Yeah, like this. This is how it might look. But then the next game here, Museum Heist, is just a totally different asset pack. And I mean, they're both pixel art sets of assets. So not like that terribly different. Does that person have butterfly wings? I think so. And that person's got like antennae they're wearing. Huh. Strange. All right, maybe the main plot is you realize you have agency. Could try and make the plot how the architect discovers their creativity through game iterations. Turns out the player is just part of the architect. Yeah, I wonder if the ending of like you were the architect the whole time. These are the sorts of things that I feel we can go in either direction, and it's just a matter of like which one is more impactful or maybe even sensible. Nope, this isn't right. I want to be over here. Yeah, I mean, we already kind of answered this, but I guess the question is, should you become the architect at the end? Or rather, the italics should be on the. Like, you become an architect, but you become the architect. Were you really the architect to begin with, manifesting as a player? I like the idea, at least. I think that's interesting. What does it mean, though? Or rather, what does it symbolize? That you yearned to play games again to discover how they're fun and infused yourself into a game so that you could start that journey. That's kind of interesting. Because by the end of this, you realize the games you made were fun. That you're doing it for yourself, maybe. Maybe this indicates that your true motivation was to make games that you found fun, and you didn't need the tutorials. So that maybe by the end of the game, you come back to the real world and the architect isn't there, but that means that no one's there to make. Oh man, that's actually pretty good. No one's there to make you go away. You're basically explaining this to yourself. Okay, that's super cool. The final time you come back to the real world, the architect isn't there, and you're terrified that you'll die here, but nothing happens. You're not fading away. Maybe the game doesn't even explicitly say that you're the architect, but the player can determine that. All right, yeah, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Yeah, I saw that dark. I'm not sure what their gripe even is at this point. Yeah, I like this a lot. I like this a lot, a lot. This sparked a very interesting idea at like 38 minutes of uptime on the day 3.5 stream you wanted to see. In short, it's the symbolism behind Becoming the architect. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you play games as a kid or teenager. At some point, people were making fun of you for playing games, saying it's childish, and then you find out playing games is not childish and showing you life lessons and brought joy. So finding back the joy. Yeah, but in this case, it was like splitting yourself into a video game player and a video game creator and going into your own worlds in order to learn this lesson about yourself, which is why I think this is so cool. All right, good ending. You rescue everyone. You eventually become the architect. So you eventually, yeah, on the final time. So after you 100% of the game, you arrive in the real world for the final time. The architect isn't there. You fear that you'll be stuck. Wait, no, then you shouldn't be getting more and more. Yeah, this is not the case. You fear that you'll cease to exist since you can't stay in the real world. However, you have uh you have actually become the architect. You were the architect all along. You somehow split yourself into another copy that you could inject into a game to enjoy your own creations. What I'll say right here, because I liked some of what I put here. Yeah. You yearned to what you were trying to create for players. And the tutorial, the bad tutorials didn't trip you up because you made the games. My mission all along was to make games that you found fun. The game doesn't need to explicitly say a lot of this. We can leave it to the IRL players to determine what happened for themselves. Just joined and already got spoilers. Yeah, I mean, this is part of watching a game get made. There are people who had been watching over the years who ended up playing Skeleseller, and I think they were still like pleasantly surprised with how the game ended up. And even people who had been watching me make it and then had played it at one point and then played it again. I watched Mr. D-Boy's stream, or at least most of it, of him playing Skeleseller. And when he opened up the game, he was just like, oh my God, everything's so different from the last time I played. Like he noticed all the improvements. He also swore quite a lot about the Yeti fight. Oh man. All right, I love this. I think this is great. Yeah, this really brings everything together. My bad memory helps me play stuff. Yeah, I like going back to old games sometimes and enjoying them again, ideally having forgotten the bad parts. Eventually the bad parts stick out to me again and I'm like, all right, this, I never liked this. And with games, you can't just like fast forward and skip it. So it's always a question of like, well, do I do this thing now or not? Like when I play Diablo 2 again, I'm always like, man, starting a new character is a ton of fun. Like getting the starter loot that you get, your first rare item, your first unique item. Then you eventually get to the end game and it's like, okay, well, time to grind for loot, time to grind for levels. That's what the game is. There's there's not much more to it. So I get to that point and I'm always like, oh, how long do I do this for? How much do I really care? Can I have my legs back, cat? What other questions we have? Maybe the main plot is that you realize you have agency, and while the worlds and the NPCs within them bore you now, breaking game mechanics excites you. Yeah, we already talked about this. What's the music on the title screen? Is it considered the real world and should have piano music? Oh, man. I never figured out that title screen thing. Is there going to be inventory? If so, you could have them awaken by bringing an item from a game genre they like. Could also help toward figuring out where to send them. Yeah, so I don't think there's going to be inventory. And the thing about potentially bringing them an item from a game they like, I think is really cool. But I think it turns into that Zelda problem that I was talking about, where it's like try item 1. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, try item 2. Okay, it didn't work. Try item 3. So it'd pretty much have to be that the game just does that trial and error for you. Or maybe you just lay them all out on the floor or something. Like your character shows them 10 different games. They react to like game number 6 or something like that. Oh, I struggle to get through that act, but enjoy the rest. Yeah. Yeah. I never liked Act 3. Well, the end of it's not too bad. But yeah, going through a gigantic jungle is not very fun. Okay, I like the idea. Let me write this down. Well, maybe I'll write it as a question. So like, instead of having the architect tell you the names of the players, maybe he tells you the names of games and that's what awakens people. Your character can just say, how do you feel about whatever, Maximum Chickens? And they say, lovely weather we're having. And you say, what are these other games that we made? Museum Heist. And it just says like, the NPC's ears perk up. Like, yeah, you can start your own cafe. The NPC, and then they say something like, you can. And that's what triggers this. So, yeah, this might be a little bit, well, I don't know. Make figuring out their game a dating sim by itself. Yeah, it was a game I played a long time ago called Shadowgate, which scared the bejesus out of me. Oh man, this is a point-and-click game. And yeah, here's a picture. So you have a whole bunch of things in your inventory. You have a whole bunch of actions. You have a map with potentially multiple things you could do. And there were just too many choices, and you had to pretty much figure out what the game wanted you to do. And then you could also click anything in the picture, I think. So it was very tough. And I've tried to find Let's Plays of people playing it nowadays. There aren't very many Let's Plays of like old kind of obscure games like that. And I don't know how they figured it out. A lot of those people are like, oh, I've always loved this game, so I wanted to show it in a Let's Play, and it's not really a blind run of it. But yeah. This phase, brainstorming, game story, game mechanics, prototypes, seems to go pretty fast. Is it industry standard, or is it because they're meticulous and hardworking and know what you want? I have no idea if this is standard or not. I don't really know how other people pursue their games. I just do what seems to work for me. And it's hard to even say that it's working best for me. Maybe there's a better method. Because with Skeleseller, I didn't have everything figured out from the beginning. I still have that document here. And if we look back at some of the stuff like this, adventures are working for you rather than representing you. First adventure is a predetermined class. Yeah, this didn't end up being true. You hire adventures by doing quests. That didn't end up being true. Adventures have a class. That was true. Classes don't have to have damage dealing abilities. We ended up not doing that either. All of them did have damage dealing abilities. You can only hire one of each class. That was true. Come back to life. That was true. And that was not true. Yeah, so like half of the things I had written down from the beginning are not true in the final game. So it took some experimentation to figure this stuff out. 48 pages, yeah, for this part, but for the scratch section, it was only 10. Actually, that's kind of surprising. Oh, we had a lot of other documents. To be honest, I'm not totally sold on maybe either one of these exactly, because every NPC you talk to, I mean, this is probably better than the name thing. Although your character would have no idea how to guess. So we need some like a light bulb showing up over their head or something so that you don't need to see this dialogue play out 400 times. I forget off the top of my head what games have done this, but there are some games where it's just like, yep, every time an event happens, you watch the same 2 pieces of text scroll by and you can't skip it. I feel like some Zelda game has done that. Maybe every time you found like a large rupee or something. Thought Google knows everything. I mean, Google probably can tell you how people have been using their documents if they could aggregate that data. I think probably some people out there will approach this from like different starting points. Some people might start with art. Some people might start with a prototype. Some people might start with a document. And none of them are wrong. I mean, they can all lead to good games. All right, I want to think about this a little bit more. I want to get my legs back is what I want to do. So the idea of just saying a character's name is pretty interesting because it's their identity. However, the idea of presenting a game to them is also interesting. And this plays into the you are the architect theme or like story. The idea of presenting a game to them is also interesting since another central theme is having players get paired with games they love. Coco Fomo. You believe, Frog? Nice, Cuddlefish. I started with none of those, just booted up the editor. Yeah, in a sense, that's kind of like the prototyping route. But yeah, maybe you just started working on your full game from the beginning. And that's what I used to do. I used to just be like hungry to code something. I didn't know what, and I would just sit down and start working on something. And I did that enough where I realized like, man, this is for me. It was not very organized. And I thought I should probably get better at this. I never really thought about it until now that I did go through that arc. Now I do plan things in documents and everything. And I thought I would dislike it, but I actually really, really like it. We get a playable demo yet or what? No, but we are nailing down some of the story, and I think it's shaping up to be like really, really interesting. At least, oh god, the chair was wobbling a little bit, so I like tried to see if the screw was loose, and I just got a bunch of dust on my hand. Disgusting. Did you hear the newest thing though, Matt? I'm not sure if you heard, but I'll repeat it anyway. So Kevin kind of proposed this, and someone else in chat had proposed this too, at least one other person. Oh, just tuned in. Okay, yeah. So there was this concept of like you are player in the game, and there's the architect, and they made all of the broken games. And as you go through them, you realize that they're fun. This heartens the architect. They befriend you. At the end of the game, you have to rescue all the NPCs and like get them to the games where they find them the most fun. So originally you might have heard me share the idea that you were fixing the broken games, but I don't think that's the strongest manifestation of this story. I think the best one is that there is a game out there for everyone and you just need to find it. So you get the NPCs to those games, and if you 100% the game by getting them all to their correct games, which that part's not supposed to be hard. The hard part is supposed to be getting through the games at the end. Then you come back to the real world and you find that the architect is not there. and you're not supposed to be able to live in the real world. You're supposed to, like, you're a video game character. You're supposed to be like, you're supposed to fade out or something, but you don't fade out. And it kind of just leaves you there thinking like, did you just become the architect? Were you the architect the entire time? So that's the idea of, you are the architect. You kind of were the architect the whole time. You somehow got split into a video game player as well. And yeah, every like new thing that we add to this, I'm just like, oh my God, this fits so well. I love writing a specification. There's delight stepping through the idea, forced to coalesce the ideas into something with substance. I try to keep things clean. Was even surprised nothing broke so far. Made the game fully event driven through event bus. Yeah. By the way, I don't think an event bus would be cause for sort of breaking the game. I think it would just make it harder if you end up breaking the assumption that there's going to be one event bus, and tests can sometimes break that assumption, but most games don't have a lot of tests, so it doesn't end up breaking that. You are the egg. Do we have any ASCII games? Because I mean the architects. I feel like that should be something that goes into the into Office World. Our like gaming graveyard. Ideas from chat. This can be in Office World. Yeah. Hey, Dev. Rather, Alex. Okay, so back to the scratch section here. So which theme is better to cover? Which theme is better if I could only choose one? Say the NPCs' names to awaken them, or say the names of games that they might like to awaken them. We could do both, maybe? Like, we say their name and they get the tiniest hint of agency. And then it says something like something like this happens. Like Bob, and you see like the NPC blinks a couple of times before responding. Is that me? Which of these games sound best? And then we could literally put in italics afterward, like, you show Bob the games. And then, yeah, I could say something like Bob chooses game name. Sounds good. Come with me. And then, yeah, Bob follows you. Yeah, this could potentially work. This is kind of like both of the ideas, I suppose. And it doesn't involve any interactivity from the player on this particular part. You just have to talk to the NPC. Yeah. What did I have planned originally? Because I kind of like this. Like the interaction sequence in Abe's Odyssey. I didn't play Abe's Odyssey. So you're split in two people, or the architect was part of your being all along and playing the game made you merge back into your full self? I'll leave the player to figure out what they want as their interpretation. Yeah. So you can decide whatever you want. Where do we have this? Go through games to try to get back to the architect. He says he's been thinking about it and gives you a list of their names and descriptions. Maybe at this point, he gives you a choice. He said you've already done so much, so you can stop here if you want. See multiple endings below. If you decide to continue, then when you go through games this time around, you use their names, just snaps them back to reality enough for them to trust you. It's like they're waking out of a stupor. I'll just say you might even propose some game names to see which resonate. With them. but maybe that's left for the architect. I think we're gonna go with the names thing. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think we just leave it how it was. I don't dislike this. Potentially be faster, less dialogue, and we could still have the NPCs share their wishes to the architect. It's terrifying, Sinister. Oh my god. All right, I'm going to share this with my wife later. Oh man. I should copy it just in case it's oh, what happened there? Whoa, what is this like the worst website? What is going on? Holy moly. Yeah, there's like a million things happening on this page. I just want to get the image. I think I found it. Open a new tab. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna definitely copy this. Also be the architect in training and the old architect is passing it on to you. Yeah, I like the idea of it being you the whole time because it fits so well with the theme of you just wanted to have fun playing games. And by being a player again, it reinvigorated your own passion. It's very reminiscent of the Song of Storms origin in Ocarina of Time. There's a did they say this over here? Yeah, it represents a paradox within the game's timeline. Link learns the song as an adult, which he'd previously played as a child, creating a time loop that is a hallmark of the series storytelling. Okay, so the windmill guy teaches you the song, but he says he learned it from a kid, and he's implying that the kid is you. I like that same sort of thing happening here. Will they have been to all of the game types by the time they rescue the NPCs? Just the names makes more sense if there are unexplored game types, since you might not know what the NPC would want. They wouldn't have been to all the games at that point, no. But the architect would presumably tell you if he's able to tell you the list of the list of names. He'd also know which games that he made. And he's fixed his portal so that he can now teleport you to them correctly. With that said, I still think it's a little bit stronger to go the name route. Oh, I see. Oh, if you're saying yeah. The player can conclude probably whatever they want. Like I'll have something in mind myself, but I don't think it really matters. But in my mind, it is that you were somehow the architect. And it just doesn't make sense how you split into a player and why you were under the same rules that a video game player would. Okay, Abby. Good girl. Good cat. Who's the best cat? Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. Is it jump time? It's going to eventually work. No, it didn't get it right. Is it jump time? Come on. It's jump time. Hello again. Close the game. You got your free jump time. See that? Finally. Okay, so where do we leave off of this? Questions. Really? Really? Fine. Come sit down. Yeah, I know. I love you too. Yeah, yawn right in my face. Just right. Human so warm. Yeah. Hi, will you sit down? Will you grunt into the microphone? This cat is such a good cat. Someday I'll remember to use LL. I'll need to remove an Espanso I just rediscovered. Really? What does RR change into for you? Because I try to preface everything with an apostrophe so that when I type like a single character, well, that way I can type a single character. And it's only sometimes unfortunate when I type like DON and then like a space apostrophe T and that types out technology. I should just delete the technology one though. I don't use that a lot. Sits on the other side of the room. You should give your cat a treat every time they sit in your lap or get near your lap. We just look at her and admire what a nice cat she is. She does, doesn't she? Yeah, you do. Such a funny video of her. I put my hand like over her face and she just like almost started drooling. She's purring really loudly. Sometimes she just likes being pet on her whiskers. Okay, so what is the music on the title screen? Yeah, I think a better question first is what do we do to introduce a new game? I don't want like 20 different title screens. Or at least not. I don't know what to do for this. Not like fully fledged title screens. I also don't want to make music for all of them. Okay, what we could do is there could be one like lobby theme that I keep re-instrumenting to match each game. Looking stuff up for it a lot and have game abbreviations. Okay. That's new for me. I've never even heard of this game. Huh, interesting. I think, well, I guess let's plan this a little bit. I do like the idea of title screens for each game, especially just as save points for the game. I don't think you need settings, so just start and quit should be fine. Well, there are two ways we could go about this. So high level routes if we want title screens for each game. Option one is if you quit the game and re-enter, it becomes the like it replaces the original title screen. So it would need settings, load game, etc. And option two is it's just a like a precursor to entering the game. So it just needs start and no other options because there's no choice. So I don't know which one I should do exactly. Like option two is, yeah, pretty simple. But it's, let me put it this way. It's incredibly simple from a game dev perspective, like coding perspective. It's not simple from an art perspective. And that's one of the questions. It's like, do we just have, what, did you just drool on me? Cat. Oh, man. A more jokey idea for title screens could be the player falling and accidentally hitting the new game button, which starts the game. I need to figure out what purpose title screens are serving in this game. Okay, stop it. That's my hand. And one of the ideas that I like is in Ocarina of Time, they have the boss introductions. And they're not really jokes, but they're just like cinematic experiences for a little bit. Like you see Goma here, a parasitic armored arachnid. And all the bosses are introduced this way. This is not like a super unique thing in games, especially not nowadays. It's not your hand anymore yet. You okay, cat? I'm being nice to her. I just need to use my hand. What are the other bosses? What's that one? Is it Bongo Bongo? Really? It's been a long time since I played this game. Yeah, Phantom Shadow Beast. So they're not jokes. I don't think any of them are jokes. I think Banjo-Kazooie, or maybe Banjo-Tooie. What was that? Lord Wu-Fac Fac? Is there a joke for this? Self-important anglerfish. Yeah. So these were kind of jokes. Anyway, that's where we could potentially do this. A title screen could act as almost a cinematic entry to the game. It can also have jokes on it. Some game could just be a title screen and nothing more. Look at that, Paul. Hey, Tim. Hey, Tim, do you have any more details on the itch thing? I shared it with Leaf, and what did he ask me? Yeah, he said, how did the Windows zip mess up? Which I am now passing on to you. I can share your original chat messages if you want. Just let me know. I'd be happy to. Hey, Puelo. Not sure if you already considered or want to consider right now. Those games probably have different control schemes, so I guess you need some kind of key binding settings for those. Also depends on how complex those games would be. I don't want to do keybind settings per game. I want to make sure the controls are simple enough where it's not going to be a big deal. So ahead of time, I want the player to fix what accept or like confirm and cancel. That this is pretty. I mean, I don't think you can play a modern game nowadays and not have at least these two buttons. And then maybe like extra button 1 and extra button 2. But yeah, I get what you're saying that you might not know what the game is. So maybe you want them to be trigger buttons in some games and something else in a different game. In which case, what we could do is we could actually have you set copies of them. It could be like, okay, you choose L and you choose Y and you choose like left stick in. And here you choose R and X and right stick in. Something like that. So that, yeah, we only ever use an extra 2 buttons. Maybe that makes the most sense. Because that is interesting. Remember you popping in when I had a problem? No. Well, so wait, sorry, I might be misunderstanding here. I'm basically saying if you want, I can share your chat messages as context. But yeah, Leaf asked how the Windows zip messed up. Exactly. Like basically, are there any repro steps for this or like an issue description? Because then he could maybe look into it some more. Aren't title screens for the IRL player? Does it make sense that the in-game player sees an interaction with them at all? That is a very good point. Also, what Puelo brought up is a pretty good point too. So let me write both of these things down. The thing that Puelo brings up, I think, made me realize what I want about implementation details here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so controller support. We need glyphs in game for everything, and we should have the player customize their controls ahead of time. Maybe make every game such that you only need up to 2 extra buttons and you can bind copies of them all. So like accept, or not accept, confirm, deny, extra button 1, extra button 2. So basically what I wrote from before. So like L, Y, left stick, R, X, right stick. And then the thing about the title screen, so just move scratch to the bottom here. So you get warped into a game. We know the names of games, right? So I do think it would be funny to have to have the game title show somewhere. Oh, cool. Okay, Tim. Yeah, I can write that down. And yeah, thank you for following on. Hey, Sarah. Guess you need the direction buttons. Oh yeah. That part, sorry, was apparent to me, but I just didn't write it down. Ow, God, what are you doing? Her like hind claws are a little bit sharper than her front claws. And I think she was just positioning herself differently. Yeah, so movement, always left stick. Is this customizable in games? If you have a racing game and it's on an Xbox, like it's Forza or something, does Forza let you change what you can use to steer on a controller? I know you can use a steering wheel or something, but like, does an FPS let you change what you can use to move? I just assume you're always supposed to use left stick for that stuff, right? I don't know if there would be a problem if we didn't let you customize that. They're often presets. For steering, though? I wonder if I can look this up somehow. I don't know, like modern FPSs to look up. Switching which stick something is on. Really? What did I just do? Let's stick it to default for sure. Sometimes I'll swap them. Huh, interesting. Okay. Well, I don't know how much we're gonna have to figure that out. Yeah, the stick movements and stuff, buttons and triggers, that stuff I understand. I was just wondering if do games customize like basic movement being on left stick? Like in Smash Bros, you can customize what jump is or what attack is, but you can't, as far as I know, change that the left stick moves. And I guess the whole game's based around you having stick controls, so it's got to be one of the two sticks on the controller. And I don't think you can make it the right stick. Anyway, I think we got the important part here, which is that, yeah, we have this always left stick. I guess the right stick wouldn't really do very much. Maybe we could use it for any virtual cursor kind of games. Here, repent. Not all, yeah. Can we fit a mini botland into? Like get a very small set of commands. So I have this silly joke idea. Rhythm game. No, this is an algorithm game. Now implement bubble sort by arranging these lines of code. And I wrote like it could be DDR, but it types out lines of code on the side, miss enough beats and it won't compile. Maybe this is the Botland game somehow. I don't know. Anyway, I think this would be hilarious, but this only works in English. But I think it's very funny. Sometimes if you translate this, there's no wordplay, but it's still just a zany idea. It'd be like saying shooter game. No, this is an algorithm game. Like it doesn't work in English, but you'd still be like, what? It's still an absurd idea. All right, well, let's go back to this. So yeah, title screen showing the game titles. So if we didn't have title screens for sub games, I guess you'd go through a portal and just be in the new game. It could be a loading screen. Yeah, it could be a loading screen. That's what we could do. We could say it's a loading screen, and because loading screens are for the player, and it doesn't break your immersion to be like, yeah, the game has loading. It's, yeah. Every game's going to have that at some point. Yeah. That could potentially work. And then, you know what? We don't need to make it like a proper title screen. Yeah, I like that idea. And we do probably need a loading screen anyway. Okay. Yeah. It's pretty good. So where do we write that? Game mechanics? It's not really a game mechanic, but I'll also write it down here. Loading screens. So the loading screens are where we can show some art from within the game. Sometimes it can be concept art. Like, I think the Secret of Mana cover had like a very vague where's the SNES? Yeah, like this did not use the sprites from the game. It was what just happened? Why is that? Okay, you know what? I should just switch away from Bing as the default engine. I have not liked it for a very long time now. Here we go. All right, finally. So, Secret of Mana. These characters appear in the game. The mana tree appears in the game. I think these little pink birds probably do. But none of this artwork appears in the game. So, this is what I mean by, did I say concept art? I don't know where I wrote that. Yeah, concept art. Mana's game cover isn't just sprites. Actually, are any Super Nintendo games the sprites from within the game? Donkey Kong Country kind of is because they were 3D rendered. Not really, right? Yeah. Yeah, not really. Something includes her. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. She will have helped develop the game, but I don't know if she'll be in the game. All right, loading screens, and we should write rationale. Title screens are for IRL players, not for in-game players. But the loading screen is a good compromise if we want to show the title of a game or have some game-specific joke. Plus, we probably need loading screens anyway, so they may as well be more in-world than not. And sometimes it can be more traditional or even a joke for a game. What was I going to say about this? Yeah. Why a loading screen? And why a screen at all? And there are two things for this. This allows us to show the name of the game they're going to play. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's good. It's actually the next game in the story. Like the screen itself is the game, because I was thinking about that. I have a joke written down here somewhere that there would be, I don't know if this is funny, but could be a title screen game. There's start new, load game, delete game, arcade mode, boss rush, settings, pirate game, quick game, multiplayer, leaderboards, achievements, glossary, bestiary, etc., etc. And you try to click a button and it moves out of the way of where you're clicking it. I don't know. That's all I have. I don't know if that's fun or funny or whatever, but yeah, these are the kinds of things that I'm just writing down and that maybe we can use later. I think what's going to be neat is once we're in game development mode, we're going to kind of find the fun. And in that sense, it's sort of like improv. You start a scene and you don't know where it's going. And I mean, typically in improv, you're working with someone else too. So you don't know what they're going to provide as input. So yeah, I think those would be interesting streams. Might get stuck and you can suddenly move in it. Yeah, yeah. I think there are a lot of little ways we can kind of break expectations there too. I think this game should break your expectations as many times as it can. You could unlock game art that you could browse in the game menu. Could be full title screens of games you played. Yeah, I do want to be careful of the art burden for this game too, and that's where I think the loading screens will largely not be like full title screens. I should probably write that down here too. Where is that? Here. Title screens generally need custom artwork. And I think it would be a lot to ask to have like 15 title screens because they're generally quite large. The other thing about this is that it would make the development cost go up. It's like in Skeleseller at one point, to make a new adventurer, where's the screen? Here we go. To make a new adventurer, we needed a portrait, so mage, a name and everything. We needed 10 skills at the minimum. We needed the walking graphic in town, the idle battle graphic, casting a spell, dying, and then a whole bunch of strings. So adding an adventurer, if I were to go make an 11th adventure in Skeleseller right now, it would take probably minimally a week. And every time you keep raising the cost of things, it becomes harder and harder to iterate. And yeah, we don't have a lot of resources. The base resolution is around what typical NES games had. Yeah, I'm not saying from a size perspective, just from an art burden perspective. If you look at, I don't know, like NES title screens, is there somewhere that'll just show, yeah, a bunch of these? Yeah. So like there's some graphic design of what kind of font do you want? What elements from the game do you want in there? And yeah, some of these are pretty basic. Although basic doesn't necessarily mean bad. Like the Donkey Kong title screen uses the graphic from those girders that are in the game, right? And then all this stuff is pretty uncreative, but like that's nicely done for NES for 1981. Interesting. Wow. Mario did a really good job with theirs. I actually can't recall if you were to choose one player game right now, would you just be controlling Mario all of a sudden? Or did you go to a black screen first? I don't remember. Anyway, we might use the same font for all of them. We might customize the font or something, or colors, or who knows what. All right, what's the next question? What do you do to introduce a new game? Oh yeah, music-wise, I did not comment on that. We could have a single lobby motif. I'll say musically that we keep re-instrumenting to fit the music track of that game. I am a little bit torn on, what is it, leitmotifs? A little bit torn on these in games because I think if they're done well, they can be really good. But otherwise, I feel like they're kind of a crutch for like, oh, I can't compose something new here. I'll just remake a theme that I already used. I think some games are bigger offenders than other games for that. I think it's okay for a loading screen though. All right, what's next? What is the music of the title screen? Is it considered the real world and should have piano music? Yeah, so for those who didn't hear, I thought this was a cool idea that every time you're in the architect's world, which is the real world, there is just piano music. There's nothing else. It could be performed by an actual pianist. I will probably digitize it myself though at first. And at first it's going to be very somber because the architect to you is a villain. Like he just teleports you out of there. So the first 2 times you see him, maybe 3 times, it's going to be like that. Then the tone's going to start to change a little bit. And that makes me wonder, what is the title screen in this game? We need a title screen. You need to be able to customize settings, change key bindings, whatever else you might do, change languages, change volume levels. There's going to be save slots on the screen, and there's going to be a quick game button. I was thinking of like, how could we do this in a more okay, hang on a second. I gotta get the cat to move. I'm sorry, Abby. My back is killing me because I'm at like some weird angle. Oh man. Yeah, so I was thinking of some clever ways that we could maybe get past this. Like you just start and you're in the game. But I don't think it's a good idea. So I think we just have a title screen. The other thing I realized is title screens are great for streamers. There are a lot of people who started playing Skeleseller and were on the title screen for like 5 minutes. So if you just started the game as soon as they opened it and you were in a cutscene or something, they just missed the cutscene. So it lets them set up their video settings and everything. So anyway, yeah, title screen is going to happen. But what do we consider the title screen? It's not the real world. It's not in the world at all. Maybe make like a special musical theme just for that. It's in Jurassic Park. It's in Jurassic World. You just customize one in the real game. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. With that said, you won't know what the keybinds are. So for example, if you think about it, like a Super Nintendo controller had what? It had 8 buttons and a D-pad. So like L, R, X, Y, B, A, and start, select. So if you just let someone customize, like, okay, I want B to roughly be jump, and Y to roughly be shoot, and I don't know, A to roughly be dash. It's like, okay, that makes sense for a game like Mega Man. But now what about Super Mario Kart? It's like, there is no jump. You can kind of say there's a shoot, maybe dash is like accelerate or something. But that's a problem. You won't know what the games are ahead of time to be able to customize them. And maybe what we should do is give some general direction for that when you go to customize them. You won't know what the games are ahead of time to be able to customize properly. If you knew you'd be playing a random Super Nintendo game, you may bind like B to be jump. But what would that mean in Super Mario Kart? So like we probably generally need to say like attack / shoot / perform action, jump / dash / whatever else. Or just allow rebinding mid-game. Yeah, I listened to the OST for that. And I thought they did a pretty good job. I don't know the context in which a lot of that music played. So one of the problems when you listen to game soundtracks sometimes, like if you listen to Banjo-Kazooie, for example, if you were to say how many tracks there are, there's probably like, I'm going to say 14 tracks. But then there were underwater themes, and then there was like the ones with the ambient noises playing. And so the OST sometimes are like super long, even though the game wasn't that long. It's just like, well, yeah, you could go underwater for half of these tracks to play. And it is technically different, but it's kind of just the same with different instrumentation. So yeah, the Expedition 33, I don't know, were these like, well, now you're in a menu, so it's the same theme, but they take out the primary instruments so that you can focus. I think it was, because it sounded like some of the tracks had thinking in them, which meant like you're planning something and don't need that much chaos in the music. All right, Alex, let me know in 22 minutes and I can take a break. All right, well, what was the next question? Am I actually even answering questions anymore? What's the music on the title screen? Yeah, I never actually figured this out. I think it's just got to have special music just for that. In fact, maybe I should write something about music somewhere. I will need to devote some amount of time every week to music. Rationale, I don't want to backload all of this. I need to keep my music making skills sharp. I may as well share this process on stream. Are people interested in this? If like every Thursday was music day, would you? No, no. Would you want to watch? Yes, heck yeah. Because it's not always going to be good music. Okay. Hi. Now she's just sitting on the desk. Pathetic. Pathetic cat. Oh, you're so adorable. She just wants me to move so she can sit down. We're here for you, so yes. Well, those streams in particular are sometimes maybe annoying because you're hearing the same theme a whole bunch of times. Even watching make music in a tracker. I was debating on doing that. I'm still on the fence about this thing. I'm like, should I buy this? Honestly, I think the thing holding me back at this point is just what is, by the way, if anyone uses something like this, please let me know the answer to this question. What is the editing flow when you've made a track, you've got it in your game, and you're like, oh, whoops, I messed up a note. Do you like go back to the hardware and fix it? Do you export it in such a way that you do it from a DAW on your computer? Because like, that's my worry. Is that I think, oh, I should change that measure. And yeah, sure, I can go onto the hardware and do whatever I did originally. But then, yeah, how do I export it? How do I deal with it later? What is this? Like an S3M, STM track? I don't know what those things stand for, but yeah, it's a tracker thing just built into its own hardware. There was a predecessor to this that you had to like make yourself, but this one's got an aluminum enclosure and I guess a tiny speaker and some better outputs or something. But yeah, I'm very intrigued by this device. Very intrigued. The other question I kind of wonder, I made tracker music before. I wonder if I still have this. I can show it to you. With the very original Botland. Where would I find this? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where it is. I still remember the tune at least. Family tracker. Is there a picture somewhere? Well, that's not inspiring confidence. Uh-huh. Yeah, I used a tracker program a while ago. I liked it well enough, but I was making kind of basic stuff. Is it to record sounds or make them? Not clear to me. Like making loops are totally different. It's a sample based thing. So you would have sound effects or sound snippets, or you could play them into this device. And now you have like a waveform that you can play back in a bunch of different ways. So yeah, you can use it to record sounds, but the main thing is for making music. So you arrange a bunch of notes on a track and then it just goes through them and plays them all. All right, well, yeah, people seem generally interested, at least as of today. This is going to slow down development, just to be clear, but it's going to speed up the music development. And I might need to get a more permanent audio setup here. I'll have to think about that. Took a screenshot for you. Thank you. I guess all tracker programs kind of look the same. So I guess it doesn't really need a screenshot. I just realized because, yeah, and looking at this, it's like, what was I expecting? Oh, by the way, April Fools, I'd hate music. You got me. You got me. Very nice practical joke. Okay, so I think the main title screen should have its own theme composed especially for it. Skelecellars worked pretty well. And wasn't too long. I think it was like 40 seconds or something. Because you're not on the title screen for very long. Players aren't typically on the title screen for very long. Also, like, worst case scenario, I could reuse what I did for Idle Ascendants. It's not like anyone saw that game, right? This music. And it seems kind of fitting for a game like this. Still love this. Let's use it. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Worst case. I'd like to compose something for it. I tuned into someone playing Skelliseller this morning, and he was like actively humming along with the music to the point where it was in his head. He wasn't just like kind of following along with the track he'd heard for the first time. I was like, oh, it's nice to hear you enjoy that. And at some point he understood I was the developer, and we were chatting for a bit. He needed a hint on one of the achievements. It was pretty cool. All right, so what's the next question? Is player gender, does it matter if you can pick? Wouldn't every single line have two variations and localized? So wait, how does Japanese work? Does Japanese have genders? Gendered, I guess, for gendered conjugations? Does not have gendered conjugation. Wait, I was just talking to a Japanese translator and he said something about... Hang on, let me look this up really fast. Yeah, this is what this person said to me. There are some specific language problems, mostly around shared dialogues. Men and women don't speak the same way, and even for NPCs, this breaks the fantasy. I'll summarize them together when such problems arise. Does anyone know what they're talking about with Japanese? Because I'm not familiar enough to know what this is referring to. So yeah, left just you know. Like there aren't gendered conjugations. So what's changing when a man versus a woman is talking? Because I think it doesn't really change my opinion here. Like I'm probably just gonna pick a gender and have the character stick with that. They don't get to pick. Certain phrases, way of referring to yourself, ending sentences are more masculine or feminine. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to make this a nightmare. How would you even do this? I guess you'd have something like, hi, my name is player. And you'd have a like intro masculine and then an intro feminine. And in English, it's just the same thing because there's literally no difference between the two. But in Japanese, you'd apparently do it differently. And I don't know where those would show up. So we'd have to manifest like every string twice. I just don't think it's the... I don't think we're going to do that. I want to think about it a little bit longer. So I like the idea of letting the player choose like you would in Pokemon, for example. I don't like the localization burden. Like, I'm not Game Freak. So I just want to manifest one string for everything. I'm just game. I need the freak part. Yeah. It's rather unfortunate. So I need to pick a gender for the characters then. So this doesn't blow out of control. I wonder what... Is there a Japanese translation for Undertale? Isn't your character in Undertale ungendered? Main character. I don't know if this is going to show any spoilers. So if anyone cares about Undertale, which was released many, many years ago, then I guess don't watch now. I'm not looking for spoilers. A human child. What do they have written here for this stuff? Appearance, personality, abilities, trivia, maybe appearance? They have no stated gender and are solely referred to with they, them pronouns throughout the game or by generic terms like child, human, or kid. Yeah, so how'd they do this in Japanese then? Does Undertale have a Japanese translation? Yes. Well, what's this? Toby Fox explains why Undertale and Deltarune are only in English. Then what's this saying here? All right, I don't care anymore. I think we're just going to pick. It's, quote, easy to be generic in Japanese. Yeah, but there are probably a bunch of other things that aren't as easy. If you're implying the player is the architect, should they be the same gender as them, or is that something to hand wave away? I think it's something to hand wave away. And I think what we're gonna do here. Oh God, this is just so difficult. Like if I didn't have to localize anything, yeah, I would just let the player pick. Because then I know how everything works in English. It wouldn't be very hard to do. But I have to localize things. Like Skeleteller would not have sold as many copies if I hadn't localized even the languages I did already. There are a lot of people who played from Germany or from France or from Brazil, and I can't just ignore that. Yeah. All right. Yeah, whatever. Fine. I'm just gonna write this down. Put this here. So my conclusion is that it'll be easier to localize if I just pick a gender for the characters. It doesn't really matter most of the time anyway. Except actually, I guess when it comes to asset packs, I didn't think about that. Well, no, I did think about that, and that's why I was saying the thing about I just love to not have a gender for the characters and not to think about any of this stuff. But if we look at these sub games and look at this one, for example, so asset pack, like who would you be in this game? I guess you could be one of these knights. You can't see who they are underneath anyway, so it wouldn't really make a difference. Or like this, can't tell gender from that character. So are any of these other ones a problem? I don't know. We'll figure it out. The sheep. When you play as a bench, that's not a problem. I don't have these for all of them. What about this? You play as a rabbit here. Pixel poem. I like the assets. Yeah. I don't think we'll have issues here. Yeah, I don't think we'll have issues. Okay. So I think player and architect will be female and sidekick will be male. That works. Like game, TV, book speak. If you do that exaggerated speech, it's not a problem. Someone who does localization wouldn't have much issue if you left it as a gender choice. No, it's not just the person translating would have an issue. It's also, I got to go manifest strings and then have an if statement everywhere. Like everywhere that we would have had this, you know, when we say show dialogue, intro text, we now need to be like gender equals M question mark intro text masculine, otherwise intro text. Like I don't want to do this all over the place. I get I can just make a function out of this, but still my point is like you'd have to trace these strings down. What happens if there's a bug in one of these? Like they say my name is 0 and in this one we said my name is 1. And now this is broken, but we don't see it on WebLate, and no one actually tested by picking the masculine form of this. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot of things that can go wrong here. What I also don't like is that I'm even thinking about this to the level that I am. I feel like as a game designer, you should just be able to make choices and not have people be up in arms about like they either didn't think about this or they thought about this or they're trying to push something down their throats. Are we reusing Super Retro World? Maybe. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much yet. I should probably write that down somewhere, huh? Did I not write this somewhere? Huh. I did not. Oh, asset packs for their games. I already bought Oryx and Super Retro World. So we could use those. Obviously, I have Skeleseller and Botland. You wouldn't need to have separate strings for gender in the game. But in Japanese, right? But in something like French, excuse me, let's say someone is talking about the main character. They say something like, oh yeah, look over there at her. Like, you'd still need to parameterize that. And yeah, if I just don't ever do that, then we just have one string. Alright, so player. Your name is player. You control this character. Because the game takes you through many worlds, it'll almost be as though you're controlling multiple characters, but they all have the same identity. Player is a feminine character. And as a result, architect. I guess that joke about like Mike the architect. If you're the architect in the end, then we can't really make that joke. But also there aren't other architects. So the architect. The architect is a feminine character. And sidekick. Sidekick is a masculine character. I wrote he in a bunch of places for the architect because I was originally thinking of it that way, but I'll have to change that. I'll write that as a thing. Change, or like make sure player and architect have the right genders in this document. Maybe try Gemini for the first time. Cool. Just make them a slime. It's slime time. Oh, I never said why. I gotta go put that somewhere. Characters. Gender. Note, I am collapsing all characters into one gender to make it easier to localize. There's nothing more to it than that. I would have liked for the player to be able to pick, but heck if I'm parameterizing everything. It's launching now. Should I take my break now? T-10. Okay. Yeah, I'll take my break now. Alrighty. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Okay, jokesters. T minus 10 means something very different to me. That was T minus 10 minutes. That's not how T minus 10 works. Close the game. They set it and then put up the clock. Why did close the game not work? All right, there we go. No, it's okay. I just feel bad because I said to Xyletics I would take a break, and I thought, oh, it's happening now, and I'll just, yeah, 10 seconds left. Oh, well. All right, so what does your character look like? How is there consistency between the worlds? We should do something like this. Yeah, I already have this written down. What connects all the worlds? Is there a common inventory you carry with you? I think we already answered this, right? Game mechanics, rules of the world. Yeah, we did answer that. It's also a 2-hour launch window. I see. Is this game actually about being stuck in a broken tutorial or just a broken game world? I love the name and I want to stick to that theme. Yeah, I do want to stick to the theme. I think we need to flesh out the game some more to figure out what's going on here. I mean, it's the beginnings of all the games, or we can leave this as a thing for afterward. Story, impact, I don't know, theme. How much more of each game should you be able to explore? We don't need to be prescriptive about this. I do like the idea that some of these games will have a lot of content in them and you could just skip it all if you want. I'm actually confused by the title because of all the game notes. What part's confusing? And wait, what are you talking about with the game notes? Because a broken tutorial is, I guess, really many broken tutorials. Maybe that's a part. Hey, Ginger Dev, I'm doing pretty well. How's it going for you? 9 minutes from now. Yeah. I loaded it up as I was on break and I saw that it was 10 minutes left. But yeah, who knows if it'll happen exactly at the 9 minutes from now mark. It's kind of crazy. Nice, congrats. Yeah. Out of curiosity, what made you decide to go with a publisher? Also, please do try to be mindful of the chat rules here. Is this about tutorials for those games? That's what I get from it? Yeah. Like, you're in these worlds that the architect created that are broken, and they're mostly in the tutorial sense because you're not really going too deep into many of these games. So I think maybe it should be implied that there's more to each of the games. I'm not totally sure. Especially if they turn out to be fun. Yeah. Also, yeah, there should... Well, I guess it's kind of implied as long as it's not like an hour-long game. That they just be the tutorials. But I'll leave it as a question after prototyping. I think it's probably pretty good. So yeah, as far as what to explore, I think this is something we can do kind of toward the end. I also want to go through all these unfiled notes, which we can probably do today. Oh man, I'm actually running out of time. Go through unfiled notes and file them. Hey, Zoltan. Singing 12K of their own money into ads, no recoup system in place. Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. Let's grab the games if you're curious. Okay, yeah. I think if it's a publisher who has games, especially in the same genre, and it's clear what they're doing for you or giving you, like you mentioned Next Fest when I think you were last here, and I think you might have mentioned that it wasn't doing maybe as well as you'd hoped, but from what I saw of the quality of your game, like it seems probably pretty reasonable. It's gonna do well, and if it does well, that I guess giving up an extra 30% seems like a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I guess this all comes down to like how much you want to do. And I know you said you're really busy anyway. I see about the notes. I understood them as you play the games, you encounter something broken, you help fixing it. Oh, yeah. So there's no more fixing in the game. Part of the theme is acceptance, and part of it is acceptance of the games as they are and finding the right match for you as a gamer. And yeah, they are pretty much the tutorial part. They're not always going to manifest that way, but it's going to be kind of close enough where, yeah, hopefully that's fine. Do we have anything else here? What's common with all the games? Yeah, I didn't answer this question. I think just the pause menu is common, but I didn't answer how it should look. The pause menu is technically outside of the realm of a specific game. Yeah, I might need to write this down. Game mechanics, pause menu. So, like the loading screen, a pause menu typically exists outside of the context of a game. Sometimes they're diegetic, but we would need to be consistent here since there are accessibility connotations across games. Anyway, the menu would have back to game, settings, title screen, quit. I'm not sure if the title screen part is needed. We had it in Botland, or not in Botland, what am I talking about? In Skeleseller. Yeah, I think the rest of this is fine though. Okay, I think it's pretty reasonable. What is the plan? What game just joined? Yeah, check out this. It's got all the information there. It also has my silly video from today. 10 to 15K, which is upcoming. I see. Gotcha. Twitch added drops for watching that. So yeah, I think it's a good idea too. Yeah. Okay, so we've answered, I think, almost everything. What's the final question? What would make for a compelling prototype? Yeah, I think this is more of a question for Friday than for today. I think for today, we've got some other things we can do. But yeah, that's the question we'll answer on Friday. So I'll just write none right now. Well, that's technically not fair. I should leave this because it is still a question. We're just not planning on answering it yet. So are there any other unfiled notes I haven't gone through? Conclusions, running out a ton of thoughts. I should probably keep the games relatively short. It'll work better for asset packs. It'll make the music easier. Games won't overstay their welcome. Yeah, I think this is good. The piano-only music is going to matter. We need you going back to the real world relatively frequently. Also needs to be kind of moody or else it'll be the same few themes. I think it's okay if it's the same few themes. Yeah. It's okay if we only have a few piano themes. Also, the rationale for piano is I think having a single instrument plays up the loneliness of the real world. And it is the soul of the architect. Music stream tomorrow. No, I'm not going to start the music streams until probably after the prototype. No, maybe we should do it during the prototype. Maybe it should be a prototype for the stream as well. Maybe start music streams for the prototype to prototype that idea too. Thanks, Smoo. Thanks for watching it. Yeah, I think it's pretty funny. I just was worried that people would think I'm a bitter game dev or something. How's it gone? Willing to share any stats? I haven't looked at sales numbers since day 2. So I don't know more than you know. But well, I guess I know if you don't know what day 2 was, but that was it. And I don't plan on looking at the stats. Yeah, I'm not gonna be checking. I hope in part 2 you'll add my comment suggestions. I only remember reading it. I don't remember what the comment suggestion was. All right, so we've done this. We need to file the unfiled stuff. I hear the cat going crazy outside. Wait, is that the cat? Hang on a second. Okay. Just making sure that wasn't Wasn't someone at the door? I don't know what that sound was. I mean, you can only survive for so long. Maybe it matches the length of the piano track. And the matching the length, I don't know about. But the surviving for so long, we definitely have. So yeah, I need to file these things. So how about we just put this on two separate sides of the screen? This over here and this over here. Cool. And cool. So what is on my clipboard right now? Yeah, surviving the real world for so long. So there's some rules of the world here. Here it is. Time travel is faster. Video game characters retain their sprites. Can't stay in the real world for too long. They start to fade out. There's just for story reasons. Okay, cool. They're written down. Cool, cool, cool. Had about 250 reviews. Made a comfortable amount at your price point. Happy to know that. Yeah, I should find out. I don't know when Steam sends out money, and I don't even check the bank account other than like once every couple of weeks maybe. But I should find out in the next month or so. Launch in 30 seconds. Okay, yeah. Forgot to mention the essential part of when succeeding and forget all your values. Yeah. Okay, I remember that. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of implied at the end. Time is it? All right. Yeah, for those who want to see the NASA launch, it's apparently soon, assuming nothing gets delayed. I hope everything is okay. Okay, so keeping the game short and the music stuff. I have not talked about music stuff. So I should mention that here. You know what? Fine, I'm going to let her in. She can stop meowing. Music. So game worlds will have their own thematic music. The real world will only ever have piano music. Rationale is this. It represents the soul of the architect. Okay, and well, maybe we say like rationale for piano only. And it's okay to only have a few themes. The architect doesn't need to be moody or something. We could always just expand on the themes that I do have. Yeah. It's lift off on two streams. That was cool. Oh, it went off without a hitch. And then the other thing is you end up in the real world pretty frequently, I guess. All right, so I should probably keep games relatively short. Do I have that written down somewhere? I guess it's more of an implementation detail. So fine, I'll put it in there. Okay. Making sub games. Cool. For some reason, it has a Skeletor logo on its side. Oh man. I think I've mentioned this a couple times, but I play the finals, and I mentioned that a bunch of times, but I play the finals and I've been debating on should I change my name in the game to Play Skeletor. And I always thought, man, gamers are kind of toxic enough as it is. So I wouldn't want to do well in a match and for someone to get mad at me or like think I'm playing in a cheap way or something and then go like leave a negative review. Do it 100%. I don't, I think that's a little too far for me. So these are still unfiled notes, right? Yeah, they are. Or overall, could resemble actual games like Stardew, Terraria. I don't think we need this anymore. Make sure the elevator pitch is something that resonates with people. At some point, I got to think more about this. It'll probably be when we get to the Steam page. Because the elevator pitch for every game is pretty much just the upper right side of the Steam page. Like this. You're a skeleton shopkeep who hires adventurers to collect loot, send adventurers to battle, sell what they find, build up your town. That's pretty much it. And you need to come up with that anyway. So making sure it resonates is probably not a note that I need. It's satire about games should make people laugh. Game players being a target audience. 402 mods on an item. Okay. Kind of want to do something like that. It'd be funny if none of the mods actually mattered. Yeah. All right, well, let me write that down as a specific mechanic somewhere. Where art thou? Hey, Fernando. I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing? It's been a very productive day. I've been like super, super happy with how a lot of this has been falling into place. I'm very hyped for this idea. I mean, I was hyped to begin with. Then I was like a little bit fearful that, I don't really have a lot of substance to this idea. And then we came up with the substance. So thank goodness. Used to be able to have custom sprays. I don't think there are custom sprays. You can get sprays that have your name, which I guess then would say play Skeleseller, but yeah. Like I said, I think that's still a little too far for me. So something making fun of loot collection games like D2 or PoE, where there are a million mods on items and it's really hard to compare them. Won't you get copyright issues if you mention or mimic? So copyright in general is sometimes a little bit tricky. Like if I were to just take someone else's character or system, that could potentially be problematic. I mean, systems would typically be dictated by patents, not copyrights. But typically there's fair use where if you're doing something transformational, then it's okay. So like, let's say I show a clip of Family Guy in my 30-minute YouTube video. Like almost certainly if I'm going to go talk about like, here's what makes this funny, or here's why this is a cringy shot or something like that. It's like, yeah, that's fine. It's not substantially the same content that you're trying to show off. But if you have a 30-minute video and 29 minutes of that is Family Guy, then you've got a problem. You also have a problem if you're trying to pass something off as your own entirely. There are a lot of like little things that you need to think about. So in general, I don't think there's any like risk here. And also the kinds of things that I'd be referencing are like general tropes of games and not tropes of specific games. One of the things I've talked about before is every once in a while people make fan games, and a lot of times they're of Pokemon or Mario or Nintendo, Zelda. And these fan games get shut down very frequently. And I always think, man, it takes a ton of time just to make a game. Some people are out there making games that are fan games, knowing that they're going to get shut down. I don't know if they think that they're different or they just really want to make the game anyway. But the reason I think a lot of those people do it, one is passion for that IP, but another is because it has a built-in audience. Like if you make a Zelda game and it ends up being halfway decent, it's like, well, all the Zelda fans out there already know that and want to participate or might want to participate. Just don't use anything by Nintendo. Yeah. Like I said, there's no plan to do anything that's even potentially infringing. The closest, okay, so here's an example of something that I think is fine and that I assume Nintendo would think is fine, which is, I have to open this again. Actually, let me just do this like this. So one of the sub games, tentative name Maximum Chickens, is a game where you are farming for the sake of raising chickens, for the sake of having, wait, I have a shortcut for this. For the sake of being able to send them to fight an adventurer. So the idea of sending chickens to battle an adventurer is a reference to Zelda games, but it's not going to be Link. It's not going to be those chickens. And that was not a core part of the game. It was just an Easter egg. So yeah, like, I think it'll be fine. Not a chance on this planet where it gets cleared by Nintendo. I think sampling something could potentially be fine. Yeah. I think it all depends on how they react, though. Remember, none of these things are really for us to decide anyway, right? If this were ever taken to court, it'd be for a judge or a jury, or I don't know who actually chimes in on this, but it's like our opinions don't really matter in the end. It's unreleased and probably never released. Okay, well, let's close out of this stuff. So, I can also close this and get a tiny bit more space. Think about streamability and controller support from the get-go. Yeah, I think this is fine. Or it's something I can't really do much about. This is something that kind of bugged me about Skeleseller a little bit. A lot of people play the game like super zoomed out. This isn't... Why is this not maximizing? Yeah, okay, there we go. This isn't too terribly bad if you're on a desktop machine, but if you're on a phone, it's pretty tiny. And a lot of people play at this zoom level. So if you were zoomed in, like if you're looking at this, for example, then it's like, oh, even watching the stream from your phone, you can tell at a glance what's going on. This new game shouldn't have that problem because most of the time you're going to be controlling a character. So we know where your focus should be. It should be on that character. So yeah, I'm not very concerned about this. All right, inspiration for why I should still work on this despite it possibly not turning into a commercial success. Yeah, well, Murky said a long time ago. I want to put this here somewhere because I like this a lot. Reasons why... Well, that didn't work. Reasons why it is a great game to make. I'll just paste that there. Unfiled notes. Try AI agents. Pay money for my next game. It should work very well. At least use it for prototyping. So many parts of the game can be relatively isolated. Yeah, I'll write this down when it comes to prototyping here. Make sure to see how AI can help with this. Now, I should probably write something here about the Steam page at some point. Make sure to have an AI disclosure from the get-go. I don't want it to be a surprise for people. And I don't plan to hide that I'm using AI, just like with Skeleseller. Because they love Corey, yeah. Oh, also welcome in, thinking about music. Okay, treat this as a full screen game all the time. No need to accommodate different window sizes. We do need to accommodate different game skills. Yep, now we can put in implementation notes. So accessibility. Think we should have controller support in mind. May make it hard to hide some puzzles. Yeah, I think it's gonna be in mind. Do my best to get to a compelling 10 minutes of gameplay, whatever it takes. We should polish the heck out of that aspect at first. And if it resonates with people, pursue the rest of the game. Smallest vertical will require some amount of polish. I'm not sure what level of polish the entire game is going to need. Because it's a game about broken games. So the first thing you'd expect is for the game to be fixed, not for it to be polished, right? I don't know. Yeah, this is tough because it's kind of a meta layer here. The idea of having this, kind of hard to avoid it. 10 minutes to cover a little bit of the story. Diegetic reason why we shouldn't polish some games. Yeah, I even wrote this down. I don't know what to do about polish. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. All right, there should probably be dedicated save points so we don't need it. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing about saves either. Okay, let's think about this for a bit. So how should you be able to save the game? I think it should just be at the start of any given game. If it's too long, maybe there could be a save point. Within the game. Well, if any game is too long, maybe there could be a save point within the game. Hey, LA, how you doing? So, tiny little story, LA. For me to type this, I don't just use a picker. I do :DSH because that's the fastest way on the phone, I think. Still my favorite emote from another channel. Hope you're doing well. I don't know if you saw my video from today, but there it is. And I don't know if you saw, there's no way you could have seen it unless it was in the stream, I think, because it's unlisted on YouTube. But it's pretty good. You should watch it. You should share it with all the Redbeards, you know. So yeah, auto saving at the start of a game. Yeah, I think we should probably do auto saving. And if any game is too long, we can have a save point in the middle of it. Which means that the pause menu should probably mention how you save. Maybe. Where'd I even write that down? Yeah, here it is. Maybe we also mention something about how you can only save at dedicated times. Or that the game saves for you. What are the implementation notes we have here? Okay, so saving. We should auto save whenever you do anything important in the game. Complete a game, go to the real world, etc. Games longer than about 5 minutes should probably have a save point. Like a dedicated save point inside of them. Maybe it's automatic. I just don't want to restore from any arbitrary point whatsoever. Oh, yeah. Okay, what's next? Game needs a hint or nudge of how to proceed since this is basically a puzzle game. Yeah, I think playtesting will uncover this too. For the title to make sense, most of the worlds have to be tutorials. Yep. 200,000. My goodness. You can almost do 3 I Am Very Rich. Although you can only do 1 per stream anyway. The game to be worth playing, there needs to be humor and a good enough story. It needs to have a pretty killer hook to get people to want to continue with the demo. If they don't want to continue, then it won't do very well. I wonder how you test this without actually having made the full game. Because if you make the full game, then you can just give it to someone. And if they want to play through the whole thing, then you know, okay, yeah, that was fun. But what if you only have 10 minutes of gameplay? Yeah, I'll just add this as a question here. Questions, story or impact. Does the game hook people? There we go. All right, what other unfiled notes do we have? Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of like opening stuff that I had planned out, but this is from a while ago. This should go in an entirely new tab. Like opening of the game, something like that. So I'll copy this from over there. Yep. Man, document tabs are great. Overview. I wrote this before. When did I start working on the game? March 30th. Which was stream day 1. That means it was before when I had come up with like 80% of the story. So it probably doesn't make much sense anymore. But I still think it was a worthwhile exercise. And has some interesting ideas. Missed the Artemis launch? I apparently did. I was there in spirit. I'm Spartamus. What else? I don't think people would pay more than $10 or $15, so I shouldn't polish everything. I should probably write this somewhere. Torn on how polish should manifest. Many games are intentionally broken. So it wouldn't probably make sense for them to be super polished with such glaring flaws. However, IRL players can't help but be influenced by the level of detail in any game and how it's presented. Plus, players watching streams or videos may jump in halfway through and say the game looks like trash. Yeah, so plus I don't know if people would pay more than $10 for a game like this, even if it has like 7 hours of playtime. So I probably shouldn't waste development time polishing everything. Consider an Undertale level of polish. All right, gonna need to handle the problem of people not buying the game because they see someone play through the whole thing on their stream. As a result, the mechanics need to be fun at some point, and they can't just be a means to push more story. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fine. Gotta make sure I don't turn every joke into "this has too much complexity." Get it? I still think that's worth writing down. All right. What other unfiled notes do we have? I think there need to be some zany, clip-worthy moments, like a game where you keep creating new objects that are supposed to disappear, but they don't. Tora just runs with it and says, "Eh, I don't like that idea." But I also think the clip-worthy moments are things that will kind of naturally happen. Some of these I just got to file away. Yeah, I'll probably tackle that later. Okay, I think we're in good shape. We're on track. It's been 2.5 streams, which works out to probably like 17 or 18 hours. When you delete things from these documents, do you save them somewhere? Only if I think I need to. Excuse me. So they're like, let's say it's a canceled idea. If I had a really good reason for why I canceled it and I want to remember that later, then yeah, I might save off the rationale. And sometimes I think like anti-design becomes part of the design. But yeah, other times I'm like, this is just a bad idea. I'm just going to delete it. I won't come up with it again. It's fine. Or maybe something's obsolete. It meshed with the old game design, but not the new one. Hi, would you like to sit down? Yeah. Want to come over? Good cat. Ow, hey. You're in bitey mode because it's 4 o'clock, right? Yep. All right, come sit down. Catto. A very important task on the to-do list. Yeah, the afternoon stuff is all the like non-stream stuff most of the time. Oh, there are some things that probably need to be done from here. Abby, will you sit down? Okay. She sat over there. That's probably best. Okay, well, like I said, I think this has been pretty good. I also streamed for a pretty long time today, right? Yeah, it's 6 hours and 40 minutes. Honestly, anything over 6 hours I think is great. And I don't want to just keep going, and even though I have a little bit of time, because I think the productivity is going to die down quite a lot. I have cat hair all over me. All right, well, it's been a good day. Let's go find someone to raid. I don't think I'll ever do a 24-hour stream. I'd have to be some kind of crazy to do that. Did I read Inhuman Baron? I can't remember if I did. Anyway, I'm gonna raid Inhuman Baron. He had played Skeleseller. He is not currently playing Skeleseller. But yeah. Okay, well, thank you all for watching. If you haven't seen my Discord links and you haven't watched the video I made today, do check those out. I spent a lot of time on that video. I think it's worth a watch. And I'll be back tomorrow, but it'll just be a half day. So bye, everybody. Take care. Have a good one. See you next time.